last night, especially.
John, go ahead and tell us who you are and then what you do at Automatic.
Hey there, I am John Ford. I'm a VaultPress Safekeeper with Automatic, so that means I'm one of the developers on the VaultPress team.
Nice. And when did you join Automatic?
A year and a few months ago, I've been working with Automatic.
What did you do before that?
Before that, for about 6 years, I was doing freelance work, had my own business, and I really focused on working with designers to build websites. They would come to me, hand me a Photoshop file, and say, build this, I don't want to do anything else. It's all yours, and I built with WordPress.
And so what I'm curious about is how you began working with Automatic. We were just chatting a little bit ago, and you said, you know, when they first started working with consultants, there's like a trial project or a trial period. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. If you go to automatic.com/jobs, you're able to fill out an application, and then if we think you're a good match, we'll have you come in and do a trial period. And so you'll work on a project, something that is useful, and you'll get paid for that time as a consultant, and we see if we're a good match. And if you're a good match and you get an offer, then you actually start as with doing 3 weeks of support first. Everyone has to go through 3 weeks of support on .com. It's actually a really fantastic way to start in a company, and I highly recommend it for any type of company, doing that support for the first few weeks, and then after that you start working with your team.
That's awesome. I heard FreshBooks also does that as well. So
Cool.
That's very cool to hear. So what was the trial project that you worked on before you moved over to VaultPress?
I started working on themes. So I started as a theme wrangler, and you take one of the roles is you take themes that are out there in the .org repository and you get them set up and tweaked to make sure they follow all the guidelines and everything's polished so that they can be used on WordPress.com for the users there. And so I started on that, and I didn't even finish a full revision and full theme before they said, hey, would you be interested in VaultPress? And of course, I immediately said, yes, I want to work with VaultPress. I think that's an incredible product, and started on that. And I was the second developer on the team.
Awesome. So that's nice to be able to shape a product as well and really have that initial input. What is some advice that you would give to WordPress developers, you know, as they begin working with WordPress? Maybe some things that you see them overlooking, you know, whether it's theme development or, you know, consulting with clients. This WordCamp seems to revolve a lot around communication.
Interesting, communication. Well, for the first part of that you mentioned, I really like to look at existing themes and plugins, and I tend to look at ones done by the core developers because they tend to follow best practices. So if you're looking at a plugin developed by Andrew Nason or Otto or Oz or any of these guys that are very familiar with the code base, more than likely they're using really good practices, so follow that. The theme team puts out phenomenal themes, so 2010, 2011, and many others that are out there. Grab those, use that to learn the code, and you'll get much more familiar with it. And then when you're part of the community, start giving back to the codex and the documentation and contributing patches and all of that, because you'll also learn a lot more about what's going on in the community, where WordPress is headed, tips and tricks. It's all in that realm and that community. So being in there and active is also going to teach you a lot.
Excellent. And how can developers find like these core developers and the theme team, which sounds like the dream team? I mean, how do they?
They're listed on wordpress.org/about, I believe it is, and there's a list of them in the sidebar. And then if you take their user handles and search in the plugins directory, you can see what they do. I think they link directly to their .org profiles, and if you go to their profile pages, you'll actually see every one of the themes and the plugins that they've done. Also, I think support tickets, support forum tickets, their track tickets, all the information that someone's done. So it's actually really good as a developer to make sure you're using that username everywhere, because if you submit a patch or a theme or a plugin, it's all going to show up in your profile, and that's extra credibility. Whether you're applying at Automatic or somewhere else in the WordPress community, you can use that as extra credibility that you've been working with WordPress.
Wow, so that sounds like that's your WordPress.org resume, right?
It really is, and more is being combined into that to show off all the things that you've done.
And is that tied into BuddyPress at all? Like being able to pull in all those streams? I mean, what's kind of, can you speak to like what's right in the back end?
I'm actually not sure what all they're doing right now because they're continuing to improve it. So I'm not sure. I know parts of it are BBPress, parts of it are BuddyPress, and I'm not sure exactly that piece.
Okay. And then where can people find you online?
They can find me at johnford.is, It's my domain and my blog, and at I am John Ford on Twitter.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thanks.